Okay, welcome again. My name is Kiana Gainey. I am the Virginia Cybersecurity Industry Advisor, and today we'll be talking about incident response. Today will be a little bit more informal, so we want to hear from you, so please don't be shy. We'll hold the questions to the end of the presentation, but if you are a little shy, you can also put your questions in the chat and we'll get to them as well. So if you're asking for a friend, or you're asking for yourself, we'll get to you as well, okay? So welcome. So a little bit about me. I've been in the cybersecurity and IT industry for about 20 years. I also own an IT and cybersecurity company for about the last 12 years. And I also have ran a nonprofit for children dealing with cybersecurity for about 5 years. But what I'm really excited about is my new role here at Virginia SBDC as a cybersecurity small business advisor. So I'm here to help clients navigate through this cybersecurity process to create processes or procedures and policies for their small business, everything from incident response that we'll talk about today. And then we have a new partnership with Posture that will actually help you set up your cybersecurity program that I'm very excited about that. And we'll talk about that and give some links to those resources at the end of the presentation. Next slide. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about how to set up an incident response plan. What are some key things that should go into that plan, some discussions you should have with personnel, and also creating what I like to call a cybersecurity repository with all of your key documents. So in the case of emergency, that not just one person can get to those documents. And also, I'm a little old school, so I believe in also printing out your actual incident response plan and keeping that handy. So if we can't get to a Google Drive or things that I know that we use to save, OneDrive to save all of our wonderful documents, having that incident response plan handy will make the world of difference during the actual incident. So next slide. So a little bit about me. I guess I talked to you about that a little briefly, about my background and my new role here. So I'm very excited about that as well. Next slide. Yeah, again, so we'll talk about ways to set up this incident response plan. This is very informal, so at any time you can jump in and ask a question in the chat, and then we'll get to the questions at the end of the presentation. So first question I usually get is, what is an incident response plan? An incident response plan is simply just a set of tools and procedures to help you either identify, eliminate, or recover from cybersecurity threats. It's designed to help your team respond against any type of external threat. What that means in short, we've all been a part of some form of the incident, correct? So everything from if you lived on a college campus or lived in an apartment building or worked at a corporate building, and usually something like an alarm will go off, and then they will tell you a set of instructions on to either not take the elevator, to use the stairs, and to meet at a designated area so that you can make sure that everyone got out safely out the building. And then sometimes you'll find out either this was a drill or this was actually a real incident, right? So we've all been a part of incident response in some form. Just with our own businesses, I think sometimes we take for granted that all of our employees will know what to do in a case of an emergency. So today, I hope that we'll be able to give you some tips to be able to put together a plan so that you can have something as solid as when you've been in incidents before, either on a college campus or at your corporate building, and the way that they handled it, either some good things or some bad things, because you can always learn from what to do or what not to do. Next slide. So the incident management, there are several phases, right? There's the preparation phase, which we'll talk about a lot today. Preparing for the incident is as simple as just putting together a plan, having key elements in that plan to make sure that you are prepared will be very crucial when an incident is happening. Detection. So I'll use the example of a smoke detector, right? The smoke detector in your home is there to let you know that there's either smoke, and sometimes it could be smoke that can be from your cooking, or it could be, it's just randomly, maybe the battery needs to be changed, or it could be an actual emergency, but it's there to let you know that there is something that is happening. And then the biggest component to any incident is making sure you know how to respond, right? So you make sure to respond and say, okay, is this the smoke detector detecting actual smoke, or is this a false alarm? And if it's not a false alarm, are there things in place like a fire extinguisher, right? Do I need to use the fire extinguisher to take out the actual fire that will be containment, right? That's another form of containment. Or would it be something as simple as maybe the battery needs to be changed in the fire, the smoke detector? I can actually change out the smoke detector, and that will, correct that problem. And then you have the eradication process, right? Making sure that there's actually something happening, fixing the problem because you've contained it, figuring out how to recover, right? If there is some damages or if there are not any damages, right? And then my favorite is the post-incident analysis, actually looking at what happened, the who, what, when, and how, who was involved, how we could have done things better, what steps were not in place. For instance, if I paid for a security system, did the security system detect that something was happening? Did it record who could have possibly, did it record what was happening? Looking at all the things that you have in your current infrastructure will make sure that you are prepared for incidents as they happen. Next slide. So again, we talked about different phases of an incident: detection, triage, investigation, containment, eradication, recovery, and my favorite is closure. And in that closure, we talked a little bit about that earlier, which was about making sure that you have documenting your after action report. What happened? Is there something that we can do to prevent this in the future? Is there some additional training that needs to happen for staff? Or is there some additional training that I need to have as the CEO? Even if you are a one-man shop and it's just you and maybe one other person, who would be the one? It would be myself. Would I assign myself as the person that would be able to respond to these incidents? Or do I trust the second person that I've employed to be in charge of the incident? And do we have the appropriate training to make sure that we both are trained on what to do in an incident that is unique to our environment, right? So there's not like a one size fits all for every incident, because every business is not the same. So this is where your planning will become crucial in making sure that you are planning for incidents that are unique to your organization. So not just going on Google and finding an incident response plan, but actually digging into that plan and making sure that you are putting unique things about your organization in that plan. Next slide. So here's some incident response planning essentials. Putting together a cyber incident response plan, putting together a cyber incident response process, creating security procedures within that plan and process. And my favorite is a communication plan. What to do when it actually happens, who to contact. If it's a significant incident, do I need to get the FBI involved? Do I need to get law enforcement involved? Is there something, or do I need to contact my internet service provider? Like who, what, when, and how are very crucial in the incident response planning process. And then having a recovery plan, what to do after something has happened is very key, and testing that plan regularly. It could be as simple as just a tabletop exercise with you and your employees, walking through what would happen in a case of emergency when an incident happens, making sure that that plan is up to date, making sure that all of the things that you will need to protect yourself, your organization, and your employees are the most up to date, and having a point person as just to help with the incident response planning process or incident response period will be very crucial into the success of your business and making sure that you are ready in the case of an emergency. Next slide. So a couple things you can do in the planning process. Identify and prioritize your assets. You know better than anyone what are the most crucial data assets in your organization. Ask yourself some questions. What will cause my business to go under or suffer heavy losses if it was stolen or damaged? Those are the key or crucial assets that you want to protect the most in your organization. So make those a priority, right? Establish procedures. You can't just hope you know what to do once you get breached or something happened. You want to make sure that your employees are well trained, that they are not panicking during an incident, that they are well versed in what to do so they won't make any crucial mistakes that could be costly to your organization. Make sure you have policies and procedures for handling a data breach. Setting up a response team. Maybe if you use a team of one, team of two, having someone that will understand, okay, here's the plan. Let's contact A and B. Let's make sure this is done quickly. If we have to escalate to law enforcement, these are the things that they're going to need. They're going to ask key questions about who, what, when, and how. So make sure that everything is documented. Make sure you have enough information so they can be able to. It's just like filling out any other police report, right? But they're going to ask key information that only you would know to be able to help solve the issue or solve the breach that is happening. Again, I can't stress this enough, employee training. Employee training is the most crucial part of the incident response planning process. Your employees need to be aware of the plan, be properly trained on what to do, what to do, what not to do. And then my all-time favorite is testing the response plan through tabletop exercises. A tabletop exercise, like I talked about earlier, is as simple as printing out the incident response plan, looking over it, running through some scenarios with you and your employees. If object A happened, this is what we'll do. If object B happened, this is what we'll do. And making sure they have an understanding. And then what you'll find when you're doing those tabletop exercises is open up the floor to your employees to hear what their thoughts are, to make sure that they understand what they're being trained on, and that they understand the importance of incident response and understanding that not to panic, that there are just things that we have already set in place. Here are the procedures, we've practiced it. It's like a dress rehearsal for your business when it comes to incident response. Next slide. So keys for success: develop a recovery plan and procedures with help of support teams. And this may not be, relevant for smaller organizations that have one or two people, but just developing some type of plan or procedures for you and if you have one employer or just yourself, making sure you have a plan in place to say, hey, this is what I'll do in the case of an emergency. I'm going to make sure I do my due diligence and test and make sure that I can do restores from my backups. I'm going to perform periodic drills. I'm going to make sure that I have alerts set up on any like technical safeguards that I have in place, like antivirus or IDS or any of those different things that you may have in place in your organization. Make sure that you're regularly updating those, make sure that you are receiving alerts, and then checking that daily to make sure that everything is working, so that you won't be caught by surprise during an incident. Some keys for failure, right? Expecting your team just to have common sense. You have common sense, you just know what to do. No. The best remedy for common sense is having a plan and testing that plan and training your employees. That's the best common sense, so that they are well versed on what to do, that they're not caught by surprise on if something happens, and then also creating a procedure or plan with a consultant or support team. So if you say, this is not my area of expertise, I need to bring in someone to help, but not understanding that consultant is there just to help you. But you and your organization will be the crucial points in making sure that you are successful developing your recovery plan, making sure that everything is in place. They can create the plan, but you have to make sure that you understand what they're creating and make sure that your employees understand what's being created. And create a procedure and never testing it. So if you create a procedure and you take the time to put together a plan and you never test it, how do you know it worked, right? So you have to make sure that you're testing your incident response plans at least, I would say quarterly, but if not, at least annually. And just making sure that you're just looking over it. And just like with anything that you have in your business, right? You just do your due diligence to make sure that you are protecting yourself in your business. Next slide. So again, we talked about this. You can do your part, right? Incidents happen every day in our everyday lives, and the best thing that we can do is just test those plans at least annually. Set up automatic alerts on your information systems, implement a process and update and manage that incident response plan. That is very key. Sometimes I know I've been guilty of that, even with my business plan. I created it when I first started the business, and then I don't even look at it for 3 or 4 years. And then you go back and you go, wow, a lot has changed in my business, right? I need to update that so that it's reflective of where my business is today. It's the same thing with your incident response plan. As you're implementing new processes, as you're implementing new technologies, or as you're onboarding more employees, as your environment is constantly changing, making sure that you update that incident response plan. Make sure you update the processes along with that incident response plan. Make sure that you have an understanding of what those new changes are for your environment will be crucial in you making sure that you and your team are set up for success and they are able to handle incidents as they happen. And then I always say create a communications plan. You don't want, if something does happen, if you're managing a larger enterprise, if your person that is your point person is not the point person that you want to speak to the press or to be sending out email communications to your staff about it, make sure that those things are outlined in your communication plan. Who's going to be talking to the press? Who will notify the employees? Who will notify the stakeholders, so that it's just not wild, wild west, right? Creating that cybersecurity repository that we talked about that houses all of your key and crucial documents. I am also a fan and component to printing out those documents and having a copy. And I wouldn't necessarily even leave them on site. I would put them somewhere else so that it wouldn't be on the same place something happened. But just in case, if you had, I always keep a copy of mine at home in a safe as well, a fire resistant safe, so that if something did happen and I couldn't get back to the office, like who would have predicted that we would have been, some folks would have been out of the office for months during COVID, right? And if I didn't have my incident response plan available at my home and was able to pull it out and to be able to respond timely to my customers, timely with my employees, I wouldn't have been able to manage during such a difficult time. So that's an example of things that just happen, sometimes not necessarily to your organization, but things that are happening around you. And then also I am a component about obtaining cyber risk insurance. It also help cover some of your data breach mitigation expenses. If you currently have business insurance, talk to your insurance provider to see if they have some form of cyber risk insurance that can cover you and your business that's unique to your business. Anyone that's dealing with like PII or any type of sensitive data, I definitely recommend that you have cyber risk insurance to protect you, your assets, and also your stakeholders. And if this is not your area of expertise, I am a component. I only go to a foot doctor when I have something that's wrong with my foot. I wouldn't go to any other doctor that didn't specialize in feet if I didn't have an issue with my feet, right? So consult with a security expert to determine the cause and scope of a breach, to stop the breach and prevent future breaches from occurring. They will be able to see things that you probably have blind spots, right? And that's okay because it's not your area of expertise. But even if they are giving you advice and they're putting together a plan for you, make sure that you have an understanding of the plan as the CEO, because you're ultimately responsible for the things that go on in your organization. And then again, plan ahead. Create a customized incident response plan specific to your company. I cannot stress that enough. It's not just as simple as taking a template off of Google and putting the template together. It's really you sitting down and planning it out with you and your employees, incident A versus incident B, and then rehearsing those processes and procedures. Do a dress rehearsal, tabletop exercise, run through those exercises. And in my business, we do quarterly all hands that I discuss everything that's going on in the company. In addition to that, I always leave a space for cybersecurity awareness. Anything that's going on in the news, anything that's going on in our particular clients, organizations, things that are happening to them, things that are happening in cyber. And we discuss different things that are going on and how we would be able to respond if something happened to our organization. So it is just as simple as that. It doesn't have to be anything very formal, but it should be something that you are putting in practice in your business. Next slide. So again, I talked about the cybersecurity repository. This is a great place to centralize all your documents in one place. Avoid using any outdated documents. Use version 1, version 2. There are some repository tools, Google Docs, Office 365. Those are usually free. If you have a subscription to Office 365, Google Docs is free. SVN and CVS are tools, but they have a little cost associated with them. But just to get started, you can use one of the free resources, or as simple as just putting a plan together and printing it out and putting it in a safe place. I would recommend putting it in a place that's not on site. Storing it off site would be my recommendation. Next slide. So again, here's some resources and some links. If you want more in-depth information about incidents, incident response, NIST has a great guide, 861, revision 2. The final one kind of goes more in depth about things that we talked about today. If you are a victim of an incident and that you want to be investigated by the FBI, there's a link there for the FBI. There are also some links on the FBI website for local law enforcement. And then there are a lot of different resources there and more details about what to do. And I definitely recommend that you keep these and save these as your bookmarks. And these are other resources that you can use while putting together your incident response plan. So here's my contact information. You can reach me at qgainey@gmu.edu if you have any questions. This is the Virginia SBDC website. There is a section on the website that is dedicated just for cybersecurity. We made some recent updates, so please go and check us out. And if you just joined today and you're saying, I don't even know where to get started, she threw out a lot of terms. I don't even have I don't have any knowledge about any security plans or any of these templates that she's talking about. We have a wonderful partnership with Posture now. There's a link to the Posture website where you can sign up, and it will help you set up your security program. It will also provide training that we talked about for you and your employees. And there's some great templates in there. A lot of it is complimentary for the first year. There are some services in there that have a fee, but again, you know your budget, look over it. And if it's something that you can use, I will highly recommend you taking advantage of that for you and your company. If you want to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me, there's my link. I will be happy to sit down with you and talk, intimately about your specific needs for your organization. And we can kind of come together with a plan to help you and your organization. If you miss any of the other webinars that we've done in the past, and we've had some great topics in cyber as well, there's a link to some past webinars that can help you be more well-versed in cybersecurity. Any questions?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.